Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. That is Nick Wright, and we have ourselves a lead story today. Let's jump right in with the bombshell from the Los Angeles Lakers. In a move that surprised just about everyone, Magic Johnson, after a truly disappointing season, decided enough was enough. Stepped down last night. It's not easy being president of basketball operations for the most storied franchise in the NBA, especially when that franchise is mired in dysfunction. Magic told the media he had yet to speak with team owner Jeannie Buss, general manager Rob Pelinka, or LeBron James before making the decision. Take a listen.
Today, I'm going to step down as the president. Somebody going to have to tell my boss, because I know she's going to be sick, but I know I couldn't face her face to face and tell her, even though I was just with her yesterday, and we had a 3-hour meeting about the direction of this great organization. I couldn't stand and tell her. But the one thing that she had in me, somebody she could trust and loyal to her, and then I will be that as well. I've been talking to people walking here. We've been talking about next year, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to be here. I was thinking about all those times, all guys who want me to mentor them or be a part of their lives, and I can't even do that. I had more fun on the other side than on this side, because now, tomorrow, I would have to affect somebody's livelihood in their life. And I thought about that. I said, that's not fun for me. That's not who I am. I want to go back having fun. I want to go back being who I was before taking on this job. I'm a free bird, and I've been handcuffed, and I don't like that. It's a difficult decision. You know, I cried before I came here. I'm about to cry now. But it's hard when you love an organization the way I love this organization. It's hard when you love a person like I love Jeannie. And I don't want to disappoint her. I don't want to, we love Luke, So I got to make a decision, right? And that's a tough thing. But I'm good with where I am. I'm happy. I want to do the things I used to do. So I had to weigh both situations, and so this is better for me.
Magic Johnson calling himself a free bird who is no longer handcuffed to the Lakers organization, at least in his former role. What was your reaction to all of this, Nick?
I mean, it's the final icing of on the cake of a season that has been nothing but mayhem, mismanagement, bad luck, and bad play. I mean, from LeBron getting hurt, to the young players not developing, to all of the Anthony Davis drama, to there being uncertainty at the head coaching position. The only thing left is, let's add some uncertainty to the front office position. So my initial reaction was, of course, like this is how the 2017-18 Lakers season is going to end, where instead of having a final availability for the players, you have an impromptu, unscheduled press conference that nobody saw coming. Magic and LeBron and Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, met for a few hours on Saturday. LeBron and Rich got no indication this was happening. Magic said it. He met with his boss, his sister, not literally, but almost. He has known her for 40 years. When he was 19 years old and walks into Dr. Buss's house right after he's drafted by the Lakers and tells Dr. Buss, by the way, I'm not going to be a Laker a long time. I'm going to Detroit as soon as I can. And their relationship started. Jeannie was there. She's 17 years old. They grew up together. He meets with her for 3 hours yesterday. Gives her no indication this is going to happen. And everyone in life, in my opinion, has the right to do what makes them happy. You always have the right to leave. You always have the right to quit a job. You have that right. But there are ways to do it. There are the proper ways to handle things. And for someone that you've had a relationship with for 40 years in Jeannie Buss, for someone that you recruited to Los Angeles and he put his career in your hands in LeBron James, for them to find out about this the same way I did, by reading a tweet from Bill Oram, you got to be kidding me. This isn't the way you handle professional business. It leads me to believe that a lot of the speculation that there were ulterior motives about a potentially unflattering article about Magic Johnson in the Lakers' workplace that is pending, maybe had something to do with the timing. And it leaves the Lakers now maybe in a position to where they can get better in the front office. But this summer, which is the most important summer they've had in a generation, this summer now just got a lot more uncertain because we don't know who's in charge.
Yeah, definitely shocking news. Shocking in the fact that you would think, man, what else bad can happen to the Lakers in the season number 1 with LeBron, but not shocking in the fact that people who are successful at doing something, they don't like to struggle at doing something else. And as much as Magic wants to tell the truth, he can look back on it and say, my 2 years as president of basketball operation of Los Angeles Lakers was not successful. When he was the coach for those 16 games in 1994, not successful. Magic Johnson is about being successful. But most of the way that he has made his money has been, or being successful after basketball, has been being a celebrity. He wasn't lying when he said that. That's what Magic does. Every summer, goes on a 30-day vacation, south of France, rents a yacht. Like, he's been doing that for years. So to think that, yeah, of course, who in America is not having more fun if you didn't have to work? Being
right.
president of a basketball team, it's work. Of course it is. It's more work than he anticipated. And also, he's not as successful as he thought, because the reason why he took over basketball operations had to come from conversations, him and Jenny Buss talking about, man, the Lakers are awful. Man, this is bad. Magic's like, I could do better. Okay, my unofficial adopted brother, you're president. I'm going to fire my blood brother. I'm going to fire him to make room for you. And for now, that my thing is, you can't quit on people that you made promises to. Now, he said, oh, man, we like Luke, and if I stayed here one day longer, I got to make tough decisions. Well, who do you love more? Jenny Buss and Luke? LeBron? Like you got to make up your mind, because the promise, you did make a promise to LeBron. That's why LeBron signed that, like that we would be there together. So now you care about not firing Luke more so than the agreement you and LeBron have? To me, I was very, very confused by that.
So, look, there's a lot to get into here. What it means for LeBron, what it means for Magic's legacy, what it means for Luke Walton, whether he is a foregone conclusion to leave. But I guess my question is, talk to me about the timing of this. What do you think the impetus was for him to do this now, a day before the season ends, or the few minutes before the last season's game?
Well, so, like I alluded to earlier, there have been rumors, and he was asked, credit to the LA Times and Tanya Ganguly for asking this question directly. Hey, there have been rumors in NBA circles that there's an article about to come out. For the last few months, it's been about to come out about Magic Johnson not necessarily being the greatest boss, and about workplace issues within the Lakers. And he addressed it head on. He said, no article's going to force me out. He's like, yeah, listen, I fire people, and sometimes I hold people to account. He brushed it off. I wonder how much that had to do with this, and I wonder what that article really is about, because it's just been rumors. There's that element. The other element, though, is I think what Cris talked about. How long was he a talk show host for? He pulled the ripcord fast.
Oh, no, he will quit.
That was a lot of work.
You're right.
And he was not good at it. He was Lakers head coach for 16 games.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. He was not good at it. He gave this his level best for 2 years. Here's the thing. Being the president of a team is exhaustive work. My buddy Daryl Morey, sometimes I'll text him or about a game. He's in Spain checking on a guy they drafted, Sergio Yul, 7 years ago, seeing if he can still urge him to come over. He's scouting guys. These are 75 to 80-hour-a-week jobs. And they're paid well, and they're cool jobs, all these things. But it is not being the face of something. And that in Magic's career, and this was something that Cris had brought up shortly after he was hired, other people who'd known Magic brought it up shortly after he was hired, the one job that takes a ton of work that Magic was tremendous at was basketball player. He was great at that, and he had to work on that. His other jobs have been, the biggest work he had to do was be Magic Johnson. And in credit to him for becoming Magic Johnson. But the things where it's, I've got to learn a new skill, I've got to do these things, that's hard for anybody. He wasn't very good at this. And I think it's hard to be great at something and to be famous for being yourself. And then all of a sudden people are like, man, Jerry West is putting a clown suit on you. And this guy, and you can't even get the Mike Muscala, Ivica Zubac trade right. Those things, I think, would wear on a guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been successful at almost everything that he's done. And you mentioned the things he wasn't successful at. Man, he pulled it on him quick. And I just thought that LeBron, and I know people will look at LeBron's got something to do with everything. I thought LeBron deserved better because there were no suitors for LeBron last year in free agency. He could have, traveled around to 5 or 6 teams, talked about it. No, he made it easy on Magic and on the Lakers. And if Jenny busts, I know she's 17, Magic's 19 when they come there, Dr. Bust. I totally understand. But she deserves a face to face. I don't care if you're crying. If you have enough dignity to go down and give the media, because you seem to be okay to me. Yeah, you shed some tears and everything, but you had a bunch of laughs also. She deserves that right, Magic. Like, there's a way to do something. It's your life, but there are ways to do something, and she deserved that. Dr. Buss, if he was alive, he would be saying she deserved that respect. So don't tell me how much you love me and then spit in my face. You know, it's about doing things the right way, and then you can go about your life of being a celebrity and being Magic Johnson, which is a great life.
And then the other issue we haven't brought up, which we will, is what this now means for free agency and how this team is going to land another free agent. Take a break. Coming up, 2 legends say farewell to their home crowd, and plenty more on Magic Johnson stepping down as president of basketball operations for the Los Angeles Lakers. That's next on FS1. You can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We're back right after this. Welcome back to the show. We'll get to Dirk and D-Wade in just a second. But first, Celtics and Wizards and Devin Robinson. Whoa. The bounce pass goes up strong with the tomahawk there. Team loves it.
All right, you're going to see today and tomorrow for these teams that aren't fighting for anything, you're going to see names like Devin Robinson. It's like, oh, that's where that fella is.
Same game. Bradley Beal spins and elevates for the jam.
Now, Bradley Beal, probably the only player in Washington's had a good year. We know that John Wall's out with an Achilles injury, rehabbing that. Might miss next season.
Disaster.
Interview yesterday.
But they moved on from Ernie Grunfeld, which is good. Go ahead.
And Pelicans, Boogie bringing it up the court, spins in the post, and the big finish.
Man, not to get on your corner seat, but I cannot watch these highlights.
Just don't stay long.
And not think they're. I was like, they didn't play the Nuggets last night, but those are the Pelicans. Those look like the old school Nuggets jerseys every time I see them.
All right, moving on now. 2 superstars said goodbye to their fan base last night. Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki both played their final home game of their career. For Wade, closes the book on 16 seasons, 15 with the Heat, while Dirk has been a Maverick for over 2 decades. 2 of the most successful, most beloved players in the NBA walking away after tremendous careers. See, I'll start with you. Who had the better career, Dirk or D-Wade?
I'm not going to say either one of them had better because Dirk, what he did, I mean, as far as being, is he the best international player that we've ever had playing? Him, Akeem Olajuwon, like that being in that class right there compared to Dwayne Wade. Nick's got some type of list. He's probably like 3 to 5 as far as the shooting guards and everything. So I just believe in different categories. Playing for one organization. Dwayne Wade's, man, I fall down, but I get up more so. Man, Obama has a message for Dwayne Wade. So I just believe in different categories. Tremendous impact on the international basketball world. Man, changing basketball as far as, man, you're going to have a big guy be able to shoot the 3 and how it affects his NBA defense. That's a style that was adopted and is still prevalent every NBA game that we see. Dwayne Wade's had a special career. Franchise on his back, 3 championships, surrendered some of that franchise to LeBron to show him how to be a champion. And I believe he should get a lot of credit for that because that takes a certain type of superstar to be able to do that. And I saw Dwayne Wade. I had season tickets for the Heat for most of his career, so it's really not fair me seeing it right there close and personal, but both of them impact on basketball around the world.
These are 2 of the 20 greatest players in the history of the sport. And you're right, I have rankings, I have lists. According to the official Nick Wright list, Dirk is 16th and D-Wade is 18th. So it would be Dirk by a hair, but you could argue for either one. Their legacies, though, are very different, even though they're interconnected. D. Wade, arguably his greatest moment as a pro, was the 06 NBA Finals against Dirk's Mavs, where D. Wade had as good of an NBA Finals as anyone has ever had, particularly those final 3 games when he just repeatedly got to the line, when Shaq was not having a great series, when he willed the Miami Heat to a championship, when the other members of that great draft class, LeBron, Bosh, Melo, were struggling to find their first or second playoff series win, D. Wade was a Finals MVP. And then Dirk's greatest moment as a pro came in a Finals rematch. 5 years later, very different teams, though. LeBron's now on the Heat, and Dirk's Mavs come back and end up winning that series. But the legacy of Wade is the shooting guard baton, which was passed off from Michael Jordan to Kobe Bryant, from Kobe Bryant to Dwayne Wade, and whether people recognize it or not now, it's now going from Dwayne Wade to James Harden. Those are Pantheon-level players, all of whom's careers overlapped one after the other. For Dirk, it is what you said. The greatest European-born player ever, the second greatest international player to Hakeem Olajuwon, and a guy who invented the stretch 5. We talk about stretch 4s. Dirk invented the stretch 5. This is a 7-footer who was a pure shooter. Last night he topped Michael Jordan, oldest player to ever score 30 points in a game. Great farewell for him with one organization the entirety of his career. And Dirk, I fear, because he hasn't been great the last few years, people have forgotten who he was. Guy won a league MVP well before he won a Finals MVP. Here's the full list of guys who have scored more points than Dirk in NBA history: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Karl Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's the list. So these are 2 all-timers, and the league will be worse without them.
And not to mention, Luka doesn't get discovered if it's not basically for Dirk.
A lot of guys. There's a lot of guys. What Dirk showed you is it's not. You don't have to go to Europe just to get the nice shooter off the bench. That you can get a franchise player from from the European basketball, and that these guys can come in and be instant impact players.
Yeah. So when you look at the 2 of them right here, you said when you walked in this morning you were surprised Dirk wasn't going to play another year.
Well, I mean, the way he went about it, because he had never mentioned it. No, Dirk is done playing basketball. I'm glad, but he's been so great. It's one of those kind of things that we grant him that extra year or 2, because the truth of the matter is they're better off in the league. It's no different than when Jerry Rice was playing. People were like, why is he playing? Because the joy of the game and the sport is better. Their overall leadership. Dwayne Wade talked about last night how guys deferred to him this year, and he was able to get to know them, get to meet them. And I'm certain that Luka, the impact that Dirk has on him on his rookie year, and if he's able to have that rookie of the year, I guarantee you, behind the scenes, Dirk had a lot to do with him having success and having instant success.
And it's the Dallas Mavericks with Dirk and the Mark Cuban connection in a very tough division in the tougher conference went from a team that was, I remember when I was a kid, the Mavs had an 11-win season. They were considered a sad sack franchise. Dirk and Cuban, that partnership made them one of the prestige franchises in this league. The legacy of European players, no doubt, and playing 21 seasons of anything, man. And Dirk, your point was D. Wade called this season his last dance. Everyone was just giving Dirk a farewell tour. He didn't ask for it. There was a chance Dirk was going to say, I'm going to come back one more year, play with Luka, play with Kristaps, but he went out on a great
really
note.
Touching moment last night as he came into the arena. The employees, the people that behind the scenes and everything were just waiting for him to arrive, and they gave him a standing ovation. The interaction between the 2, special situation when a guy stays with one franchise his whole career.
Well, there's not a lot of Kobe with the Lakers, obviously, Duncan with the Spurs, Dirk with the Mavs, guys that are all-time guys that only ever played with the one team. A lot of these other Magic with the Lakers as well, but there's even Jordan had those couple Wizards years. We know LeBron's bounced around a bunch. Those guys, 15-plus years, one organization. It's great.
Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade combining for nearly 2,600 games, 4 NBA titles between them. Good stuff as they both step away. Coming up, should LeBron James regret his decision to come to L.A. in the light of everything that's happened in the last 24 hours? That is next on First Things First. Time for us to go viral. So last night, the Pelicans' last game of the season, Anthony Davis showed up to the arena wearing and a pretty appropriate shirt that read, "That's all, folks." An epic troll from the Brow last night.
All right, so for the young people out there that aren't familiar with Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes, that was how the old Looney Tunes cartoons ended. Jenna's obviously a little too young to remember Looney Tunes.
I adore you.
No problem, Jenna Wolfe. And so for other people, Anthony Davis, I don't love this decision by him. I feel like he could have. People didn't blame Kevin Garnett for leaving Minnesota. They were like, man, that was a mismanaged team. I think Anthony Davis could have gone down a similar route. I think some of the way he's gone about it, the giving the fan the middle finger, the wearing this shirt, for a guy who's so likable, I don't know if he's made the best
and he's not
decisions.
that guy. He's not. His image was totally different.
Yeah.
Ever since he signed with Clutch Sports, right?
Oh yeah.
After the game,
LeBron again.
After the game, Alvin Gentry actually came out and said he thinks the Brow got some bad advice.
Yeah.
Some of the decisions he made, maybe not the smartest, right?
Good pickup.
Time for some stories to start your morning, brought to you by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. Aaron Rodgers let us in on some interesting information, revealing that he played the entire 2018 season on a fractured leg. CeCe, what was your reaction to this?
Not surprised. I mean, typically you hear it closer to the Super Bowl. After that, been like, wow, guy was playing with a fracture, guy was playing with torn ligaments. That's what NFL players do. So not surprised at all that he had a little fracture in there. When he got hit and went down, I thought it might have been more significant than what it was, but that's par for the course in the NFL.
And his play, especially in the few weeks right after the injury, you could see it. He wouldn't roll out to one direction. He was not mobile at all, even though that's been a huge part of his game. I didn't know it was a fracture. I thought it was more likely a ligament issue, maybe an MCL sprain, but he clearly was not 100%. And you saw it, and you also saw it the moment he got hit, his reaction on the field was a guy who thought he was seriously injured.
Our two superstars said goodbye to their fans last night. Dwayne Wade, Dirk Nowitzki, both playing their final home games of their career. Nick, who had the better career, Dirk or D. Wade?
This is not the debate that I'll go to the mattresses on because it's incredibly close. Now, according to my officially unofficial rankings, Dirk is 16th all-time, D. Wade's 18th all-time. But you could push or pull me either way. They both have very unique legacies. Dirk about the greatest European player ever. D. Wade continuing the legacy of the great shooting guards from Michael to Kobe to D. Wade, leaving out Jerry West because different era, and now to James Harden. But they were always connected, see? D. Wade's first championship came at Dirk's expense. Dirk's first championship came at D. Wade and LeBron's expense. So two all-time greats walking away.
Dirk, as far as you rank him as a power forward, right? So where does he rank as far as power forward?
Oh, so gosh, that's going to be tougher. I think off the top of my head, I think he'd be fourth, but I don't have that in front of me right now. I apologize.
Okay, he might be fifth or something. So I might give Dwayne Wade the edge because of the championships and because of his ranking per shooting guard. He's probably like, right?
D. Wade is the fourth greatest shooting guard ever. There's no argument there. Now Dirk has a regular season MVP. If we should, maybe we should.
This is what we did. We called Paul Pierce. He went with Dirk. He said Dirk was better.
But both are worse than him.
Yes.
He made that very clear.
Yes.
You need your own page called like Nickopedia, and it's just all lists that you made that people can just reference at any given moment.
Awesome. I'm going to get on my IT department on that.
Thunder took down the Rockets last night. If the season ended
requirement,
today,
be a weirdo.
We're halfway there. The two would face off in the playoffs as the 3-6 matchup. Of course, that could still change with one more night of NBA action left to play. Nick, how big of a loss was this for Houston?
I mean, we'll see how it unfolds tonight. But this is brutal for them. They don't play tonight. So this is about what Denver does tonight, what Portland does tonight. But they had a 13-point lead going into the fourth quarter now. To blow that lead when if you win, you're going to be the 2 seed, that's a killer. To now potentially face OKC, who I think they would beat in the first round, but much like OKC would be an annoyance to Golden State, they would be an annoyance to Houston in the first round. Tough way to lose at the very end on a Paul George 3.
Huge loss last night. You're looking at game 81, game 82. You've been working hard all season, and Houston had dominated the game for 3 quarters. They were cruising. You expect them to be able to win this game. You do not want to face one of these teams in the first round because it's about wearing them out and the potential of injury.
And one other note real quick. This also leaves the Rockets open tonight to fall into the 4 seed, which if Portland wins, which would then mean, guess what? You face Golden State in round 2. That's not what they're hoping for.
Bad news for
Unless, of course.
Golden State last night. Steph Curry exited the game with a mild foot sprain. He is expected to be ready for Game 1 of the postseason, though. Nick, would a Curry injury sidetrack title hopes for this team, and by how much?
Oh, listen, I think that's the only injury they could sustain and not still be the favorites. I think if Kevin Durant went out, they'd still be the favorites. Not the heavy favorites, but the favorites. Clay, Boogie, Draymond. We have seen all the numbers show this team is two totally different teams, with Steph and without Steph. Now, I don't want to overreact to this because they say he's going to be ready for Game 1, but he didn't look great walking off the court and walking to the locker room last night in a meaningless game where other starters weren't playing. Odd to me, Steph did play.
Yeah, I think that, this could, of course, hamper them. His ability to control the pace with his ball handling and his range, those things can't be replaced. So when KD's out, when Clay's out, when Draymond's out, all the things that they do, they're special, but they can't be replaced. What Steph does can't be replaced. This is something we should watch.
Since KD came over, they're 29-4 in games KD misses. They're 28-17 in games Steph misses.
What a discrepancy. All right, back to our big story this morning now. Minutes before the Lakers took the court for their season finale, Magic Johnson stepped down as the president of his former team, which means he will not be involved in crucial team decisions like the next head coach, the next big free agent, perhaps the next general manager, the next team built around LeBron. Magic, though, still optimistic about the Lakers landing another big star.
Oh, they'll get another one. Because the team is in place. If anybody see this team, everything is in place. We add one guy, and this team is in the finals, in the Western Conference Finals. Because we're not too far away from everybody. Before we got hurt, we were in fourth, 2 games away from being in first, right? Playing some good basketball. And I think that we can continue to do that. Listen, tomorrow, you know how many calls Jeannie gonna get for this job? This is a coveted job. Trust me, it'll be somebody good.
You believe Magic, CC? You think the Lakers will be able to land another star without Magic Johnson at the helm?
Right, I would, because Nick was asking me, Chris, how can you be optimistic about the first year with LeBron? I said, well, maybe they get off of Luke Walton, get a better coach, and then now at the end of the season, I'm convinced of this. They'll get a better president. This is one of the most coveted jobs in basketball. I heard David Griffin talking last night on NBA TV, and he said, man, guys would quit their job, what they think to be a dream job, to be able to take over the job with the Lakers, because right now they failed in the last several years. They would be open to giving up that power, because Magic had all basketball power. So if you're able to get that job, you can either keep it or distribute it amongst the staff. But I look for them to get someone who is more than qualified. So bad news, good news. Magic did resign, didn't like the way he did it, but I believe the basketball world, the phone will be ringing today, and I believe that the Lakers will be able to get someone good in that position, and that person will have the ability to be able to get that free agent to come to LA.
Listen, I've tried to be consistent throughout the morning. I in no way want to paint Magic Johnson abruptly quitting and telling no one as a good day for the Lakers, because they weren't expecting it. They weren't planning for it. It adds more chaos and mayhem to an offseason that was already going to be a little chaotic. But there absolutely could be the silver lining you're talking about, which is they get someone who's qualified for the position who can then help them get what's the job of the basketball president? Build the team to get that superstar and fill out the rest of the roster. They need to be big game hunting, not just in free agency, but in this position. Call Masai Ujiri today. He's done a great job in Toronto. He's as good as anybody in the league at what he does. Call him today. I would say call my buddy Daryl, but Daryl just signed a long-term extension. He's not leaving Houston. But you know who you might be able to get from Houston? Gerson Rosas, who's interviewing for GM jobs. Daryl's number 2. Mike Zarin, Danny Ainge is number 2. We have talked ad nauseum on this show about the need for the Lakers to get a smart guy in that front office, an analytics guy, a guy that understands there's more to it than just the smile and the relationships. They now have that opportunity, because I disagree with Magic in this regard, Jenna. It was not just going to be about signing another superstar. It was going to be about filling out the rest of the roster. If you trade for Anthony Davis and the roster is basically scraped away, or if you just sign a superstar and you have to figure out who those 7th, 8th, 9th guys are on your roster.
If you're a free agent and yesterday you might have had hesitations or reservations about joining this Lakers team because of how in disarray they were and because of this season they had, wouldn't you be even more hesitant or skeptical about the future right now without Magic Johnson and a potential head coach and the team around LeBron and LeBron coming off the injury?
Well, if you're banking on your future being there basketball-wise right now, but the decision doesn't have to be made today. Like, we're going to have a search process, and I just believe that they're going to get someone competent. So if the free agents had to make their decision today, that meant, yes, it would be chaotic. They would, the chance of them missing would be a lot higher than them hitting. But to me, I just believe the Lakers, and what you're saying, Nick, based on the names that you've thrown out there, you said stop doing it the Laker way. Go out and get the best. Don't go out and who you're familiar with, because that's the way the Lakers have done it, and they have done it in this recent history where they haven't been successful. But if you are trying to stay familiar, I'm going to give you a couple names that you should go for. Go across the hallway and get Jerry West.
Yeah.
Turn it over to him. Now, as a free agent, you're like, okay, they stabilized. The plane was going down, but they stabilized it and looked like we can land this thing fairly safely. And my wild card would be, I would approach Pat Riley. I'd like to see. They haven't had success in Miami. I'd like to see what it would take to bring Pat Riley back to Los Angeles. That's a conversation. If I'm Jenny Buss and I stay true to my dad, if I stay true to my recent history as far as people I'm familiar with who have been successful in basketball, not a chance. Luke Walton is a chance. Magic Johnson, chance. Rob Pelinka, that's a chance. I would go out and get me something that I could sit back in my office and realize, you know something? They're controlling the basketball operation, that either being Jerry West or Pat Riley, and I like our future, and I think the free agents would come immediately.
And Pat Riley is an older gentleman who for years has talked about going back to Malibu, where he's got this palatial estate where he has 30 beautiful classic cars that he never gets to drive, never gets to see for retirement, but he can't let go. Now, I think Pat Riley is the definition of a Heat lifer, so I'd be shocked, but I'd go after him, just like I'd go after Masai. You mentioned David Griffin. We know David Griffin can build a team. There are people out there that the free agents, it is, will this hurt or help the Lakers in free agency? That totally is dependent on what happens over these next 6 weeks. I now know Luke Walton's not getting fired today, like he otherwise was going to be. But who do they bring in? Who does that person bring in as the head coach? Does that person keep Luke Walton? Do they fire Luke Walton ahead of time? Do they go against what has been the Laker way, which is running it like a family business?
Yes.
I mean, think about who was there. Kobe's agent was brought in.
It was a mom and pop shop for a long time.
Right, and so bring in some professionals. Bring in some people where one of the things that stood out to me in Magic's press conference was he kept saying the word love. Jeannie loves me. I love her. She loves Luke. I love Luke. While I appreciate that, that's not really how you run a business. Like the idea of, well, like it's tough to move on from the coach because I love him. I've known this. You can't be as effective as possible when emotions are tied into things. And that's the way the Lakers, from Jerry Buss to Jim and Jeannie, have always been run, and it's hurt them.
So the first thing that came to mind when I read the news was, I wonder what LeBron's thinking. I wonder if there's a part of LeBron that regrets having come to L.A. with the way everything turned out. Do you think LeBron has any regrets, see?
I'm sure that there is some pause in what's going on, but I think that ultimately LeBron is a guy that has a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of confidence in what's going on in the basketball world. He knows what's probably going to happen in Golden State, so it's going to be up for grabs. And if they can get another player, LeBron realized where they were, and if he had been healthy, if Rondo had been healthy, if Lonzo stays relatively healthy, this season turns out totally different. But I believe that LeBron, and he met with Magic for a long time on Saturday with his agent, Rich Paul. LeBron's probably not as shocked as we are because he's down, he's there. and I know this through people I've talked to, LeBron's basketball IQ is very, very high. So he doesn't like the chaos of it. But what they can do moving forward, I think LeBron is excited about it. And also, LeBron's not going to be tied to Magic leaving. This is one of the few things he's not going to get blamed for, because they know this is on Magic Johnson, had nothing to do with LeBron James.
So I want to make this very clear. Was unable to talk to anybody about this last night. So I can't report on, what was said in that meeting with Magic. I can't report on what LeBron's reaction was. But my speculation is this, that LeBron feels a level of misled by the fact that they did meet Saturday.
That's a good word choice.
Yeah, not lied to, but misled. We not only met Saturday, we met at my house in Los Angeles 9 months ago and said we were teaming up for this together. And then you basically said, man, this is too much work, I'm tapping out. And I'm certain that LeBron also is thinking this year went as poorly as I could have realistically imagined. The team was not built well. I got hurt, which he never would have conceived as a possibility. That we're going to fire the coach most likely. One of the silver linings was we knew we were firing the coach. Now LeBron's going to be thinking, wait, is that now up in the air? Could Luke Walton be back? Which I don't think is a positive. What I think will carry LeBron through this is at the end of the first year of each of his previous 2 moves, probably had a lot more doubts than right now. That first year in Miami, I came here because couldn't win a title in Cleveland. I promised the world 7 or 8, and I just had my most mortifying moment in my athletic career on the world stage. First year in Cleveland. Wait, this thing in Golden State is existing? Into year 2 in Cleveland. Wait, they got better? They're going to win 70 games? I mean, I've got this David Black character as my coach. Am I going to have lied to Cleveland and never win a title? And then both of those situations turned out great, where he delivered on the promise. So now, after 1 year in Los Angeles, there's a feeling of, man, this can't be my Washington Wizards years. I'm not at that point in my career. I think the fact that he has been at this moment after each of his previous moves and come back from it, reach the heights, will carry him through it. But I also think they need to hire smart people now. They need to hire a smart coach. They need to hire a smart GM. They need to figure out if Rob Pelinka has a place there. There's a lot of things that have to fall right for them to just have a chance at a championship. But they've got the biggest piece, which is LeBron, but they don't have much else there right now. It's
going to be a long offseason, a busy offseason for the Lakers. Coming up, much more from the fallout of Magic Johnson's sudden resignation. That's ahead on First Things First. Welcome back to First Things First. Dirk Mangini is here.
Good to see you, Coach.
You say it as if we were talking, and no, there you were.
Coach Mangini, fresh off a great appearance at a Cleveland Cavaliers basketball game, Dad of the Year.
Yeah, when you go to those games late in the season, you are Dad of the Year. It was a rough outing.
We're talking Green Bay Packers coach. The fallout continues.
I'm so glad you're here.
From the Bleacher Report story about the frayed relationship between Aaron Rodgers and his former coach, Mike McCarthy. Rodgers went as far as to call the report a smear attack with slanted opinions stated as facts. More now from Aaron Rodgers and his relationship with his former coach.
I love Mike McCarthy. Mike has been a huge part of my success in my career, and I've had some amazing moments on and off the field with Mike. We have had issues, no doubt about it. Any long relationship has issues, but the way that we dealt with those issues, Mike and I, was face-to-face. We had conversations. Things didn't fester for weeks, months, years. It'd be up in his office. It'd be after a Thursday practice down in the big team room. It'd be in the quarterback room. It'd be at my house sometimes. It'd be at his house sometimes. We spent time together. We talked about things. And even at the most difficult moments, when I was stubborn about something or he was stubborn about something, the conversation ended the same way every time. We came to an agreement and agreed to move forward on the same page. We got up, we hugged each other, we told each other that I love you and I respect you, and then we moved forward together.
All right, Coach, who do you think is more to blame for the Packers' dysfunction, Rodgers or McCarthy?
Well, first of all, I'm going to start with the organization. I had a real problem with the fact that they fired McCarthy when they did. The guy had 2 losing seasons, one of them where Aaron Rodgers is hurt, and they fire him during the season. They don't let him finish the season. To me, that's a sign of dysfunction, at that level.
And McCarthy said in a previous interview just last week, he had a big problem with that as well. He was shocked.
It was just flat out wrong. They won a Super Bowl. He had been there, 13 years. And the success that they had, the combined success, the organizational success, and then to not even give the guy a chance to finish out the season, to me, that's a sign of some organizational dysfunction. And then when you look at this relationship, the truth is somewhere in the middle. The idea that the offense got stale, that Mike McCarthy wouldn't change the game plan, that he wasn't intellectually capable to have advanced schemes, that's silly. There's no truth to that. The idea that Aaron Rodgers' ideas couldn't get in, every quarterback and head coach meet during the course of the week. Every quarterback and offensive coordinator meet during the course of the week. You want to make sure that your quarterback is happy with the things that you're running. Otherwise, they're not going to run it very well. They're not going to be successful. So there's give and take and there's input. And when you have a quarterback as successful as Aaron Rodgers, he gets even more input than a typical younger quarterback would.
To support what Coach is saying as far as Mike McCarthy, I sat down with Mike McCarthy when I was a free agent. He was offensive coordinator with the Saints, the wide receiver coach. Hubbard Alexander was my wide receiver coach in Minnesota and was trying to talk me into playing another year or two, but coming to the Saints to be able to do that. So I was very impressed with his X's and O's and what he was trying to do, how he was trying to attack defenses. So I knew that one was a little far-fetched as far as Mike McCarthy and his football intel. I'm going to blame the organization. They played the biggest fault because they allowed this to go on and to fester on and on. They were able to have success in winning the Super Bowl, but the problem is they should have been more successful. Aaron Rodgers is that kind of quarterback. When you can't support him from a defensive standpoint, you can't support him from a running game standpoint, so you're not going to get from an organization out of the talent what you're supposed to get. It's no different than when Peyton Manning was with the Colts. They won 1 Super Bowl. They should have won. He went to 2 Super Bowls in Denver in 3 years. So they should have gotten more out of him. So I just believe when the organization is not going to support the coach. Now, I do believe McCarthy was at fault. His style, the lack of a physical style, the accountability, trying to treat kids like they're grown. You can't go into the NFL locker room and expect, I'm going to treat you all like grown men. You can't do that. That system didn't work. I believe the players took advantage of it, and the lack of a physical style and of a competent defense that they're going to put one of the greatest quarterbacks, I believe, was a colossal failure.
Listen, I don't want to sound like Thomas Friedman, but I think the market spoke on this. Like, Mike McCarthy was a free agent. 8 teams had openings. Everybody said, nah, we think we can do better. Aaron Rodgers was a free agent this offseason. I think 31 teams would line up for him. I think that Aaron Rodgers obviously has some culpability in this. But when you are in a relationship and one person's value to the organization is so much greater than the others, then it's typically the less valuable person's job, fair or not, to find a way to make it work. They are the person that has to bend to the other person's will. It's not ideal. The ideal is Brady Belichick, where it's hive mind, where they come together, where everyone's giving and taking. I get that. But you don't typically, or Duncan Popovich, you don't always get that. And when you don't have that, then it's, okay, how can I get the best out of the most talented player in the league? And that is something that over the last 5 years, ever since that NFC Championship game in Seattle, I think it's fair to say the Packers were unable to accomplish. Organizationally, they didn't build a good enough defense. Coaching-wise, they didn't build an offense that clearly Aaron Rodgers thought was most suited to his strengths, that Aaron Rodgers thought was the best for the team. Whether he's right or wrong, when you have that level of ability, you almost always get to be right. Unless someone else can show you, no, I bring as much to the table in this way as you. I don't think it's necessarily fair, but I think it's reality.
Well, I don't think it's reality because to me and for what I've heard out of Green Bay, Aaron only wants to play a certain way. And that way was where he gets credit. Tom Brady, you're never going to have the Belichick Brady because as we saw in this recent playoff run, you know what they did?
Run the
They
ball.
looked at the roster, Say, how big is those guys over there? Coach, they ain't real big. You know something? I think we should run the ball at them 40 times. That's where we have an advantage. You think they went for Tom Brady's approval? Because through the years, Tom Brady has said, these guys will come up with what is best for me. Aaron Rodgers is not saying that. So trying to think that coach he's got a limited effect on that team when he doesn't have the quarterback buy-in. That's why I always say that Belichick is far more valuable than Brady because he helps the special teams. He helps out so many other parts of the team compared to that quarterback. But when you don't have the quarterback buy-in, it hurts the coach's ability to build and coach the rest of the squad.
And we want to look at the market as being the indicator of success or failure. The market spoke on Tom Brady, too. He got drafted in the 6th round. That's where the market was on Tom Brady. It was a little bit wrong. The market for Bill Belichick was 0, except for one guy, Robert Kraft. And they put those two guys together. So the idea that the market is the indicator of success or failure, we've had housing crashes, we've had stock market crashes. Sure. So I'm not going to limit it to that. And look, I think Mike is going to get another opportunity. And it is hard to win without an elite quarterback, without a doubt. But there's got to be, for sustained success, there has to be a constant reevaluation of what I can do better. You know, is the quarterback taking less money so that money can go to other people on the team? And we can say, hey, let's go get this guy help. Okay, well, you've got a big chunk of the money. Where are we going to go get that help from? And Tom is willing to do some of those things. It's the whole narrative after this is frustrating on so many levels, and I think it's.
What do you think the narrative is after this?
Well, look, it's kill the coach, it's kill the quarterback to some degree, and it's everybody's different agendas when somebody leaves. If you've got a problem with someone, the strong thing, the right thing to do is go up and deal with that problem face to face. Go up and try to find a solution that can push the organization and the team further. But to wait till someone leaves and then provide sources and stories and half-truths, it's weak. It's wrong.
All right, we'll leave it there. Coach, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Take a break. Coming up, Magic shocks the NBA with his resignation. That's next on First Things First.
That's why we miss Coach Mangini, man.
I told some of my first relationship.
Oh, here we go.
That love is overrated. You need more than that in a relationship. Love won't keep you together.
No.
FS1 is your destination for the day's best sports shows. Tune in for the biggest personalities on the biggest stories. We get you started right here with First Things First. Catch it on Monday through Friday, only on FS1. Welcome back to the show. NBA champ Antoine Walker joins us now. Good morning, Antoine.
Good to see you, sir.
They had everybody in Miami but you last night, bruh.
He had to be working.
Okay, no, I appreciate the commitment. No, but that was
I got
nice.
3 years with D-Wade. I didn't see him play enough.
And D-Wade's final game ever is going to be here in Brooklyn tonight.
Yeah, I know. I'll be there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I pulled out a couple. We're up in the owner's box and everything.
Oh,
Okay, it's okay. Okay.
Look at this guy.
We got a lot to talk about, Antoine. In a move that surprised just about everyone, including that guy right there, Magic Johnson, after a truly disappointing season, decided enough was enough, stepping down last night. It's not easy being president of basketball operations for the most storied franchise in the NBA, especially when that franchise is mired in dysfunction. Magic told the media he had yet to speak with team owner Jeannie Buss, general manager Rob Pelinka, or that guy right there, LeBron James, before making the decision. Take a listen.
Today, I'm going to step down as the president. Somebody going to have to tell my boss because I know she's going to be sick, but I know I couldn't face her face to face and tell her, even though I was just with her yesterday and we had a 3-hour meeting about the direction of this great organization. I couldn't stand and tell her. But the one thing that she had in me, somebody she could trust and loyal to her. And then I will be that as well. I've been talking to people walking here. We've been talking about next year, and I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to be here. I was thinking about all those times, all guys who want me to mentor them or be a part of their lives, and I can't even do that. I had more fun on the other side than on this side because now, tomorrow, I would have to affect somebody's livelihood in their life. And I thought about that. I said, that's not fun for me. That's not who I am. I want to go back having fun. I want to go back being who I was before taking on this job. I'm a free bird, and I've been handcuffed, and I don't like that. It's a difficult decision. You know, I cried before I came here. I'm about to cry now. But it's hard when you love an organization the way I love this organization. It's hard when you love a person like I love Jeannie. And I don't want to disappoint her. I don't want to, you know, we love Lou, you know, so I got to make a decision, right? And that's a tough thing, but I'm good with where I am. I'm happy. I want to do the things I used to do. So I had to weigh both situations, and so this is better for me.
Antoine, there's a lot there. We all mentioned all morning that it surprised all of us. It clearly surprised everyone within the Lakers organization. What was your reaction to the news?
I mean, obviously, I was surprised like everybody else. I was surprised how he handled it, honestly, when you really think about it, because I listened to his comments and you started to go through it to try to figure out what went wrong. One, not to talk to Jenny if you love her so much. Not to talk to her and you met with her the day before, I think is wrong. Not to talk to LeBron James, a guy you got to come there and be a part of this thing, and which I'm pretty sure you told LeBron that it was going to take maybe a couple years to get this thing built up the way we need to be a championship team. I thought we're all wrong and kind of disrespectful to a certain degree to leave on them like that. And then the Laker organization, just to put them in a position now, they have to find another leader one day after the season's over with. I think it's tough for Magic. And I love Magic. He's my favorite player. He's one of the guys I've always looked up to. And to do this to this team and organization, I think he's contradicting himself a little bit. It's not adding up the right way. And I know we all could be happy. We want to do things to make ourselves happy. So I respect that part.
But there's a right way to go about it. There's a right, you know, that's the thing is, you know, we were joking just moments ago about you not being in Miami last night. If you had decided after the show yesterday, you know what? I need for me to go to Miami. I know I'm supposed to be on the show tomorrow. That would be your right. But you can't no show, no call. You'd have to call Keta. You'd have to call and be like, hey, guys, I'm sorry to put you in a rough spot. I got to go do this. Magic at the very end is revealing. He said, this is what's best for me. And I don't begrudge anybody doing what's best for them. But there is a process that adults in big positions there's a reason that you can work at the local burger joint. You're supposed to give them 2 weeks notice. Like, I mean, that's how it works in any job. The other thing that I thought was telling was, he said, I want to tell Jeannie because I think she'd have talked me out of it. He said that I think that if I had met with Jeannie, we'd have left this conversation with me staying. And I didn't want to stay. So you know what I mean? He filed the divorce papers and essentially left town. You know what I mean? We're not going to allow for reconciliation. And I don't think the Lakers necessarily will look back on this as a bad day. I think there's an opportunity for them to get better in that position. But right now, the team, what do the Los Angeles Lakers have other than LeBron James? Do they have a coach? Do they have a team president? Do they have an all-seeing, all-knowing owner? Do they have a second star? Do they have a third star? Do they have a healthy young player in Brandon? What do they have other than LeBron James? And the answer is not that, and the Lakers brand and the weather in L.A. is basically what they have right now.
Look, I'm about commitment. I'm about being dependable. I'm about my word. If I tell you something, it might cut you, but it's my truth. And I had a problem in my career because the coach said he couldn't depend on me. So I go out of my way at this stage of my life to make sure that I'm dependable, that even if I have to tell somebody something that they don't want to hear, I tell them the truth. And in my commitments to people, I don't overcommit myself. So with Magic, this is unexcusable to me, this part. Not talking to LeBron James after LeBron is going to make the last big move of his career, trusting that to you and the Lakers. He can say what he wants about Jenny Buss being a sister. Don't matter what you call me. It's a matter of how you treat me. When we were trying to get this show together, Nick and I had many meetings. And I told him, we just talked to his daughter and his wife on the way. Man, I'm committed to your family. I'm committed to going to New York and altering my life. Because, yes, Magic, let me tell you something. Before I did this show, my life was a hell of a lot more flamboyant. I had a hell of a lot more fun than what I'm having now, getting up at 3 in the morning, reading the clippings and everything. Yeah, it's a grind.
Life's typically more fun when you're not employed, but you can get away with it.
But I made a commitment, though. And if something would happen, and I've been offered other things, and people talk to me about stuff, but I wouldn't do this without you and Jenna knowing exactly what I was going to do and the reasons why. Because I made a commitment not only to you guys as far as this show, but to your family and your kids and the things that you're trying to do. So Magic just saying, no, you just can't have a press conference and just leave people in limbo. LeBron James, Jenny Buss, the rest of that staff there. So for me, that was very, he's got a lot more class and has shown a lot more class than the way he went about that right there.
I want to go back to what Nick said. I think the Lakers are still in a good position. I do agree with Magic when he said that. You got the best player in the world, LeBron James. It's the difference when you leaving in the ball. You got the best player in the world who still got a lot left in the tank. So you got him. I disagree with you with Luke Walton. I think Luke Walton could be a coach for this team. He's been on the staff, which you got to think, he played with Kobe Bryant, so he's been around a superstar. He's obviously been around Phil Jackson, who's been a great coach who knows how to handle those championship teams. And he's been with Golden State. With those 3 guys. I know it's a small sample size of him coaching and you got 3 superstars, but he's been around there. Who are you going to bring in that's been around that LeBron is going to really respect, that their job is not already taken?
Well, the obvious answer there is Ty Lue. But other than Ty Lue, not a lot of guys check that box.
Right, so I don't think Luke Walton was the fault. If anybody, if you lose those, LeBron misses 18 games, Rondo misses his games, Kuzma, Ingram, you're going to lose in the Western Conference. The Western Conference is too tough. You got to play those teams 4 times. You're going to lose. So it's not Luke Walton's fault. He had some bad losses. I understand that. But you got to give the guy a legitimate chance with a healthy roster.
The Luke Walton argument is, are you willing to allow him to learn on the job why you have the best player in the last quarter of it? So that's the thing. Do you have patience for him to grow as a coach? Because I don't believe Luke is an awful coach, but do I have a chance to be able to let it grow? And that's the question, and my answer to that would be no.
What do you think Magic's biggest mistake was, looking back over the last chunk of time?
I think when he took over, he should have obviously right away put his coach in play. I know it's very difficult to do. I know you want to respect Luke Walton, but you got to put your people in play. Regardless, if Rob Pelinka is your guy, then okay, you got to go.
And Rob Pelinka wasn't his guy.
That's what I'm saying. You got to put your people in play. That's one thing about it. If I'm gonna lose with my guys. And if we're not going to be successful, it's going to be with my guys. And Magic knew, or he maybe did not know, the responsibility of running the team. You got to go on the road. You got to go on the road, see other teams. You got to go to these colleges and watch these players play.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to go to the Final Four. How about that? Let's do the Final Four. Where was it this year? Minneapolis?
Yes.
I mean, hell, the Lakers used to play there once upon a time. Might be able to see some good George Mikan highlight. You got to. GMs in this league team presidents are globetrotters. They're going to Spain.
Where's Daryl Morey
now? To Greece. Right. Well, right now, I think he's in town. But we were talking earlier that I reached out to Daryl a few months ago, and he was in Spain checking on Sergio Yul, who they drafted 8 years ago.
When I was criticizing the Rockets, Daryl Morey sat here and said, "Listen, I got a couple guys that people aren't talking about them now, but they fit our system for what we want to do." He has that little intel that make these little things go because of the information, being on the road, beating the bushes.
It's just I think you nailed it, Antoine. I think he drastically underestimated the amount of work it takes to be effective in that role. It is different than team owner. It is different than face of a company. It is different. It is you have to run the business side of an organization while also running the basketball side of an organization. That's 2 full-time, high-level CEO type of jobs.
It seems that there was a part of Magic Johnson that thought he could still play the role of Magic Johnson, but just as the face of the Lakers. I'll go out because it's me. I'll recruit a couple guys. I'll watch a couple games. Maybe I won't tamper as much, and that'll be it. And you're right. There was an obscene amount of work that came along with it that he saw in the end he didn't want to do.
The first day when he went in the free agency, he went to LeBron's house by himself. So you knew Rob Pelinka wasn't this guy. You knew Luke Walton wasn't this guy. He basically let you know, look, I'm going to go in here, LeBron, it's my show. This is how we're going to do it. He didn't go in there with his other guys. I got recruited in college. When a team wants you, it's the owner, it's the GM, it's the head coach. You're getting phone calls from everybody. He ain't talked to Luke Walton until 3 weeks after he signed. So, that wasn't his guy.
We're going to break there. Antoine, stick around. Coming up, could Steph Curry's injury keep the Warriors from three-peating? We'll talk about that next on First Things First. Saturday on FS1, we got the Rockies and Giants at 4 Eastern, followed by Robbie Cano and the Mets taking on Freddie Freeman and the Atlanta Braves. That is Saturday on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. All right, we'll get to Steph Curry in a second, but first, a couple of highlights from last night. Celtics and Wizards, and Devin Robinson with the bounce pass goes up strong with the tomahawk.
Well, Devin Robinson is a name that's first time on the show. Good for him getting some run at the very end of the season.
University of Florida?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Good job, Twan. Oh,
Rockets and Thunder. OKC down 2. Russell Westbrook gets the ball to Paul George, drills the 3 in the corner for the win.
The culmination of a great fourth quarter by Russ, a great fourth quarter for the Thunder, and an awful one for the Rockets.
Did Russ pass that ball?
He did. He hit the 3 on the previous possession
It's the new
to
Russ,
cut it
man.
down
It's
to
the new
1.
Russ.
Okay.
And he did that.
Warriors and Pellies and Boogie Cousins bringing it up, spinning it in the post, and finishing at the rim.
Boogie's playing his best basketball at the end of the season now. I'm very curious to see how teams try to attack him in the playoffs, but he's as healthy as he's been since the Achilles injury. They got to feel good about that while nervous about this.
Let's stick with the Warriors. Some bad news for them last night. You're right, Nick. Steph Curry exiting the game with a mild foot sprain. He rolled his ankle in the first quarter against the Pelicans. The last thing Golden State needs right now as they get set to start the playoffs. He is expected to be ready for Game 1, though. Antoine, would a Curry injury sidetrack title hopes for this team?
Oh, without question. He's the most important part of that team to me. When he's healthy and playing at a high level, makes it really easy for Kevin Durant to do his thing offensively now. He doesn't see as many double teams, and now the floor just really opens up. So this is the tough part about playing the last couple games of the season, and we wonder why coaches sit guys and want to be fresh. This game had no bearing, on it, and then now he gets the injury. And now he's still a process. He can't go as hard as he got to rest now to get that ready for Game 1. It may take him a couple games to get that back to 100%. So it's a big part.
And if it's nicked up a little bit going into that first series, you're playing a month straight of the most competitive basketball that they've played all year. So it's not necessarily always that injury, but then the wear and the tear between these series. So then it becomes important, how quick can they close guys out? So that they can continue to get rest. The ideal situation for every player is going into the playoffs 100% healthy. And that last night, it can alter the rest of the NBA, the championship, trying to three-peat. And Steph Curry's the most important Warrior.
There's all the numbers confirm they are. Listen, with Steph and without KD, since this team came together over the last 3 years, they're 29-4. They have a better winning percentage in those games than they do the regular games. With KD, but without Steph, they're 28-17. That's a good team, but a beatable team. We know whether or not you think KD's better than Steph. That's debatable. Who's more important is not debatable. Now, I don't want to overreact to this because maybe he'll be 100% a week from today. You know what I mean? And even without Steph, they can win their first round series no matter who they're playing. But we said, when we were grading their season, we said, what were their goals? Get the 1 seed in the West, ideally the 1 seed overall, but the 1 seed in the West, and to be fully healthy going into the postseason. We thought that was going to be the case when we talked about it 2 days ago. Now there's a little asterisk next to it.
And we have to watch, too, anytime Steph has anything to do with his feet. If he had banged his knee or something, not as much caution because he hadn't had problems with his knee. If he had a problem with his shoulder, something else, we wouldn't be. But Steph's ankles, Steph's feet, especially wearing them Under Armour shoes, it presents a different set of, wow, he has struggled with this before, and is this something that cropped up from something old?
Well, it's actually was kind of shocking that Steve Kerr would be playing these guys because they locked up the Western Conference. Man, they can't get to Milwaukee, but they got the Western Conference locked up. And you thought maybe he will sit them, but you do have to be cautious with Steph and his ankles because they are sensitive. He can easily have a relapse, and it can linger on throughout the playoffs.
Right. I think that Steve Kerr, he set part of them last night and was going to sit the other part of them tonight, and Steph was going to sit tonight, so he wasn't going to play. So that's what he was really trying to do.
Who steps up in case Steph can't go early on?
Kevin Durant. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no. I mean, I'm thinking at the point guard position. I mean, Quinn Cook is a guy that plays some serviceable minutes for you last year in the playoffs. He wasn't bad. But, yeah, Kevin Durant will have to go on one of those tears offensively and be more aggressive.
Boogie Cousins going to the post. Because, see, you can't replace his ball handling. You can't replace the depth for which he's going to shoot. But Clay does a little more. Boogie Cousins becomes more part of the offense. Let's go with a post-up. But ultimately, they got Kevin Durant. He can clear it out. He can take anyone in the NBA. So
yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Warriors would have real trouble against the Rockets with a less than 100% Steph Curry, right? Because we saw them have trouble with the Rockets last year. And once Iggy went out in that series, that was a big moment in that series. That's one of the few postseason injuries they've had to deal with. But we are talking about next year, Kevin Durant plus one star-level player going to New York and making them championship contenders. All right, Kevin Durant, you got yourself, and if there's no Steph, two star-level players, Clay and Boogie. You should be fine up to anywhere you play other than Houston, which is built to beat you. Like, this is not a concern for them to me in this first round, whether they play the Clippers, the Spurs, or the Thunder. It's if it lingers past that, or as C mentioned, if he has another injury because of it. Like, by the way, why were they able to get Kevin Durant? Because of Steph's ankles. They got Steph on a discount contract years ago because people were worried about the long-term health of his ankles. Kerr called this an ankle sprain. The team called it a foot sprain. They're also saying he's going to be back for game one. I don't think this is a significant injury, but they might be lying to us. We'll find out game one of the postseason Saturday or Sunday.
All right, Antoine, we got to take a break. We'll see you a little bit later on in the show. Coming up, could Luke Walton survive as the Lakers head coach? That's next. This is First Things First. Back here, First Things First, time for stories to start your morning, brought to you by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. Aaron Rodgers let us in on some interesting information, revealing that he played the entire 2018 season on a fractured leg. See, what was your reaction to the news?
I'm not surprised at all. When he came back to play, because I thought he was going to have a significant injury. The way he grabbed himself, grabbed his leg with that direct impact on the leg. So not shocked after the season. You see this a lot with NFL players, that they find a fracture that they found the first time, but then they didn't see it, but you play on with it.
Well,
it's amazing.
You could see from his play on the field, especially in the 4 to 6 weeks right after the injury, he was not himself. He was dropping straight back. I can't remember if it was right or left. There was one direction he was simply never rolling out to. So I thought watching it was more of a ligament issue, a sprain, something like that. But to find out it was a tibial fracture in his knee, I mean, that's significant injury. Sure, he was dealing with intense pain, but he had seen from the year before.
Yeah, what kind of injury was that?
Tibial plateau fracture.
There you go. Spit that thing out.
Did I say it wrong? I apologize.
Sound like you had
I go to Cris Carter for
like you had like 2 marbles in your mouth.
That's where you go? Two superstars said goodbye to their fans last night. Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki both playing their final home game of their careers. Nick, who had the better career, Dirk or D. Wade?
Oh, you know I hate to rank players, but if you're going to make me...
Of course, we got,
I mean, I think Dirk is the 16th greatest player in NBA history, and D. Wade is the 18th greatest player in NBA history. So it's close, and I wouldn't argue with you either way, but Dirk, by a hair, he has the league MVP that Wade never had, and the 6th most points in NBA history, which is remarkable, but 2 all-timers.
I don't believe you can go wrong in doing this. Dirk, his overall impact, not only as far as stretch 4s, stretch 5s, playing the game, still a huge part of the NBA game. And Dwayne Wade, his overall story, coming up in that great, legendary draft class, how he is a champion, getting 3 championships, and teaching LeBron James some things that made him a champion there in Miami. So both of them you can argue. Cris doesn't have a list. I'm just going to enjoy both of them's career.
All right, finally, today's top story, Magic Johnson stepping down from his role as Lakers team president, leaving the entire organization in limbo, but most notably, Luke Walton, who's reportedly a favorite of owner Jeannie Buss. Nick, where does Magic's resignation now leave things for Luke?
Well, Liz, it gives Luke Walton a little bit of hope that he might be the coach next year.
Very small, but a little.
Well, it was 0%. It was prior to last night. Luke was going to be fired today. I mean, this was a foregone conclusion. Luke knew it. The whole league knew it.
I think that was discussed in the meeting with Jenny Buss. And also last week, she kind of hinted that all the things I defer to Magic Johnson as far as basketball decisions.
She was making it very clear, and I don't blame her for this. When Luke's fired, that blood's not on my hands. Magic is empowered, and Magic's going to do what he wants. And by the way, firing Luke today would have been the right decision and still would be the right decision. You bring in a team president afterwards, you let him pick the coach. But when you listen to Magic yesterday, he made it clear. I didn't want to. One of the reasons he says he was stepping down was because he didn't want to fire Luke. And he didn't want to put Jeannie in that position. He didn't want to do it. So now maybe Luke has a lifeline. Now, it would be a very odd circumstances to keep your job when everyone knows you're going to be fired and a guy essentially resigns so you're not so you're not fired, but in part to save your job, and then you get an extra year. I think it would be a huge mistake for the Lakers to not follow through on what they were going to do, which is fire Luke Walton. But he's got a little more time now. I don't think he'll be fired today
Because who would
anymore.
do it now, Rob Pelinka or Jeannie Buss, if they were to do it?
Jeannie Buss would be the person.
Yes.
And she's been on record saying she doesn't want to do it.
Well, that's when Magic was in place. But now she's going to have to put her big girl pants on and be able to do what the job requires. Now, she thought that she had someone in Magic Johnson because there's really two things going on in Los Angeles. And we have to be able to make sure that at least we give Jeannie Buss credit for this. The basketball side of the Lakers is in chaos. But the business operation, they're making money. I mean, she is doing her job. They got everything sold out. They're sold out for season tickets, their boxes, and everything that they're doing. So she's doing her job. Her decisions on the basketball side the last several years have them in the situation that she's in. So if she goes about business the way she typically would do with people they're familiar with, people in the Lakers family, I hope that leads her to Jerry West or someone else like that, because that's the only thing they can do now. They got to get the basketball side of that business together.
But
Nick.
whomever they hire as team president, to elaborate on the point Antoine Walker was making earlier, do you want to put that president in the position again that Magic was in, which is you're the president of the team, but this isn't your coach. You inherited this coach. This coach predates you. Do you want that? Does that make sense? Is that the way to go about business? I would think the job becomes more popular. If you're trying to steal away Masai Ujiri from the Raptors, if you're trying to get David Griffin, who's going to have a bunch of job opportunities, I would imagine, this summer, much less go super big fishing, hunting, big game hunting for Jerry West, as you mentioned, don't you want to tell them, listen, the coach is gone. You're going to get to hire your own guy. I think it would, even if you tell the guy, you come in, you can fire Luke, I think it's kind of a bummer. My first order of business
handle
is
that.
You're fired.
Yeah,
I think it's better to say the head coach position is vacant. You can pick your coach if you come be our team president.
And how many of these decisions, be it the head coach, the general manager, if Rob Pelinka leaves, whatever free agent they bring in, is going to be based on the time that LeBron James has left on this team, that we want to win in the next 2 to 3 years, so it's going to have to be a veteran coach, a veteran, general manager, a free agent that understands what the time frame is. I mean, how much of it is based on his time frame?
Well, I think the head coach part has a lot to do with LeBron's time frame. I think the team president part has almost nothing to do with it. I think a good team president, you hope to be a 20-year job. You hope to outlive LeBron. You hope to build the organization from the ground up, all this.
But he's also analyzing it, realizing that I have LeBron James.
Yes.
How will my first several years be successful? And that's utilizing him and maxing out his ability, Nick.
Right. I think the best team presidents, the best basketball builders, Jerry West is a great example of this. Put him in any situation, he will make the most of it. Put him in Memphis. He'll find a way to make the most of that. And
Look what he did with the Clippers.
They weren't even supposed to make them
right, the
postseason.
Clippers or Golden State, or the best people will find a way to. Do we have a championship-ready team? Do we have an expansion team? We're somewhere in the middle. Coach is different, though. You need a coach that is not going to learn on the job. You need a coach that is ready to win right now, a coach that immediately engenders respect. So I think LeBron's age and profile has a ton to do with who they are as coach, not about team
I haven't
president.
talked to Kawhi in his camp, but I do believe that if Jerry West was hired for the Lakers, I believe it would enhance their chances of landing Kawhi
of course.
compared to him staying in Los Angeles with the Clippers.
Well, that's the one other thing I would say when it comes to the coach part of this is we've talked about what coach would LeBron want. Should there be a bit of a question, is there a coach Kyrie would really want? Is there a coach Kawhi Leonard would really want? Is there a way to thread that needle? And that's one of the many reasons why, even though it's not going to happen today, I think Luke Walton is going to eventually get his walking papers, even though they won't be from Magic Johnson.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, how much did the loss to the Thunder hurt the Houston Rockets' title chances? More basketball next. This is First Things First. Saturday on FS1, we got the Rockies and Giants at 4 Eastern, followed by Robinson Cano and the Mets taking on Freddie Freeman and the Braves. It is a baseball doubleheader Saturday on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. All right, back here with Antoine Walker, Rockets and Thunder. Great game last night. Possible playoff preview. Less than a minute to go. Russell Westbrook, the 3 to bring OKC within 1. Now 10 seconds left. Thunder down 2. Russ to Paul George from the corner. Nails the 3. OKC wins 112-111. As it currently stands, this would be the 3-6 matchup. So, Antoine, I ask you, should the Rockets be worried about having to face the Thunder possibly in the postseason? I
believe so, because this is a tough matchup for them. They match up really well with Houston. Now, some things will have to take place if this series was to happen, because obviously OKC, I don't know if they can muster up enough offense to keep up with Houston. They made 16 threes last night. I don't think that's OKC's game, making threes. Then obviously the rebounding. They won the rebounding game. But what scares you, if I'm Houston, Russ can have one of those nights and beat you. Paul George can have one of those nights and beat you.
And you can have a night where you don't hit threes if you're Houston.
And you can take care of home, like they did last night. So this would be a tough series. And you want to, last night, I know Houston went in to avoid it, but it was almost a must-win situation. And when you're trying to get yourself prepared to make the best run possible to win a championship, you got to avoid certain teams. I talked to you guys a month ago about us avoiding the Chicago Bulls when I was with the Miami Heat. The first year we played the Heat, with the Heat we played the Bulls, they took us 6 games the year we won a championship. The next year they swept us. Our roster didn't change much, and they swept us. So you got to avoid certain teams that have your number, and I think it's also the fear test. I don't think OKC is scared to play Houston.
Well, I think
they'll welcome that.
I don't think OKC's scared of anybody, and there is an element of, if you draw the Clippers in the playoffs this year, even though the Clippers, Spurs, and Thunder essentially have the same record and have for the last month or so, there's an element for the Clippers of, oh my God, we made the playoffs. Like, what? We traded away our best player. What an amazing accomplishment for this team. If you draw the Thunder, there's a sense of urgency.
Yes.
Like, we got knocked out in the first round last year. We have something to prove, and they are one of only 6 teams in the NBA that has multiple All-Stars. Like, you're going to, not a lot of teams have the 2 guys, because one team in Golden State's got 5 of them. So there's not as many to go around. The Rockets have to be really internally disappointed about what happened last night. They controlled this entire game. The biggest lead the Thunder had was 2 points. The Rockets were up 13 going into the fourth quarter. And if the Rockets win, they are going to be the 2 seed. They are going to have their best possible path to facing the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. It's not just now they could face OKC in the first round. It's now, depending on what happens with Portland and with Denver this evening, the Rockets could be the 4 seed and be looking at, because the Rockets season's over. That was their last game of the year last night. They could be looking at Golden State in round 2, which no matter how you spin it, if the Rockets go from Western Conference Finals losing to Golden State to this year's second round losing to Golden State, it will be considered a major disappointment, even if it's the same team knocking them out.
Yeah, and if all those people that you're jealous of because they vote on the MVP because you don't have a vote, we're working on that, young fella. But if all those people hold out their vote and you realize Giannis winning over 60 games, 1st seed in the NBA overall, and then now Houston's the 4th seed, does that affect a couple votes here or there? It should, because Giannis might be defensive MVP, so that would be the first note. My second note would be I would be concerned about Chris Paul and Harden and the matchups going against OKC, because I believe in a 5 to 7 game series that it would take its toll on them. Could they do that 4 times? Now, we know he might be able to do it 1 or 2 times. So Chris Paul, more in particular because of Harden, his workout regimen, and he has shown the overall endurance. But Paul George is going to make it tough for him. And I know Chris Paul, when they play against OKC, they try to have him guard some of the non-offensive players. But, man, Russ would wear him out physically over the course. So I don't like the matchups, and I believe that, OKC presents a number of problems, but for the backcourt of Houston, the toll that it would take on them for the whole series.
I mean, OKC, from 5 to 8, no team want to play them. They're at the back end of that, because they do have 2 All-Stars, because they do have Russ and Paul George, 2 guys that are very capable of winning games by themselves individually in a playoff series. But also, it's just a matchup. If you really think about it, they can switch 1 through 5. They can do the same thing. They both have centers that are mobile, that are active, which both teams pick and roll a lot. It's just a bad matchup in a 7-game series.
And the other element, and this is why I imagine folks in Houston were tossing and turning all night, the other element is if the Rockets win, this might sound obvious, the Thunder lose, right? The Thunder then would be in line for the 8 seed. That would mean all of a sudden Golden State, with Steph Curry on maybe a bit of a gimpy foot, he's got to chase Russ around for a couple weeks.
And they're a little more. That could be a 6-game series.
Of course,
right.
And they're a little more worn out. And they're a little now. OKC still could get the 8 seed, but it's going to take a lot of things to have to fall perfectly tonight. The Rockets were in position to have, despite the beginning of the season being such a disaster. Remember the Carmelo Anthony experiment? That blew up in their face. All the injuries were the 2 seed. We're going to play in the first round, either San Antonio, which has overachieved, or the Clippers, who have way overachieved, while Golden State's going to have to take on OKC, which is going to be a pain. Now they're staring at maybe they still could be the 2, but likely the 3, maybe the 4, and they've got to deal with the pain that is Oklahoma City. It was that final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter last night have a big impact, man. Russ was outstanding in the fourth. Harden had his worst quarter maybe of the year, didn't make a shot after playing well throughout the whole game. It's a huge missed opportunity for Houston, and if that be the taste in their mouth going in the playoffs, it just, depending on how tonight falls, they could regret it majorly.
Such a good point. Antoine, give us one more segment. Take a break. I assume that's yes. Should LeBron regret his decision to come to L.A.? It's on First Things First.
Jenna, he's not like you. He can't leave early.
That is what?
He can't leave early.
One time in 2 years. Back here with Antoine Walker, we're going viral. So last night was Dwayne Wade's last home game with the Heat, and he made the most of it, scoring 30 points in the first start of his season. D. Wade got a special message before the game. Take a listen.
D. Wade, congratulations on a great run. Now, I know what you're going through, because saying goodbye to a career that you love is never easy. I've been there. In my case, though, I didn't really have a choice. My knees were shot, so I had to give up basketball forever. You, on the other end, look like you're still hooping out there, and I imagine it's a little tougher when you've just completed one of the greatest careers in NBA history. For 16 years, you've given us high-wire dunks, big shots and big moments, more blocks than any guard in history. You were willing to sacrifice your body in the lane and sometimes sacrifice your ego in pursuit of a title. And whenever you got knocked down, you always showed us how to get back up. So you showed some Chicago spirit in you, and you did us proud. So from all of us who are fans of the game, we just want to congratulate you on an extraordinary career, a career for the record books. I hope that the next phase of your life is just as fulfilling and just as spectacular as this one has been. Take care.
That's so
Good
cool.
stuff
That's
right
dope.
there.
That's so cool.
That is.
Chicago family, President Obama, Dwayne Wade, the great Antoine Walker.
Yeah, I'm Chicago. Great career, D. Wade. I owe him, obviously, for my championship. He had the unbelievable finals. So I rode that coattail and got me a championship. So,
Come on.
So thank you, D. Wade.
Hold on a second, though. Wait a minute on riding that coach. D. Wade was unbelievable, one of the greatest finals ever. Who was the second leading scorer on that final team?
I was the second leading scorer.
Antoine Walker. They wouldn't have won any of those games without
And we
your
both from
points.
Chicago, so I was, that's
Antoine, who was one of the first people on the court after the Heat won? Chris Carter.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Twan, let's get back to our big story this morning. Minutes before the Lakers took the court for their season finale, Magic Johnson stepped down as president of his former team, meaning he will not be involved in crucial team decisions like the next head coach, the next big free agent, perhaps the next GM, the next team built around LeBron. Magic, though, still optimistic about the Lakers landing another big star.
Oh, they'll get another one. I mean, because the team is in place. If anybody see this team, everything is in place. we add one guy, and this team is in the finals, in the Western Conference Finals, because we're not too far away from everybody. Before we got hurt, we were in fourth, 2 games away from being in first, right? Playing some good basketball. And I think that we can continue to do that. Nick, listen, you know, tomorrow, you know how many calls Jeannie gonna get for this job? This is a coveted job, trust me. It'll be somebody good.
All right, Antoine, at this point, the way Magic has left the team, is there any chance this team can pick up a big-time free agent this offseason?
I think they'll be able to. I think obviously with LeBron James' voice, no matter who's the coach or the GM, he'll be able to lure the other guy there because it's L.A. This is different. This ain't like asking the guy to come to Cleveland. And if you look at what he was able to do in Miami, obviously Bosh came over, then Ray Allen, Shane Battier. You think it's about some of those guys coming over to play with him in Miami. So I think that's fine. They'll be fine in that sense. I think for the Lakers, they got to figure out who's going to be the right personnel to play with LeBron James. We know he likes to play with a lot of shooters. Is that the style you want to play that way? Are you going to allow another star to come in and LeBron takes a back seat a little bit as far as handling the basketball, scoring? They just have to figure that out, and I think that's talking to LeBron and figure out where he's at right now in his career and the way he wants to play. But they won't have no problem getting another player. It's L.A.
Today's not a day where anyone, including us on this show, is giving Magic Johnson a ton of credit, and it shouldn't be a day for that. But where he does deserve credit is when he got there, they were not in position to sign LeBron, much less sign a second superstar because of the Mitch Kupchak spending spree in the cap spike year. Hey, let's give Mozgov $64 million. Let's give Luol Deng $18 million a year for something. And Magic, the best thing he and Pelinka were able to do was get off those contracts. Now, it was expensive. They had to give away D'Angelo Russell to get off the Mozgov deal. Luol Deng, they couldn't find anyone to take, so they had stretch provision him. But they didn't panic during this season and screw up the cap space this summer. So I still believe they'll be able to get somebody. I actually think they could be in better position to get somebody because I think whoever takes over for Magic will be better at the job than Magic is. It just would have been better for the Lakers for it to look like a unified team decision. You talk to LeBron, you talk to Jeannie, you hold a press conference, you do this the right way rather than impromptu with. I was reading an article just during the break. There was evidently a lady that works for the PR department tugging at Magic's arm, trying to get him not to go talk to the media. He said, no, I got something to say. And then he said, I'm stepping down. Like there was no organization to this yesterday.
Yeah, I think that they're going to get a competent basketball person, and I think that we have enough time between free agency. Say if we had opened up free agency and Magic had decided to resign then, and I believe by then they'll have the answer to who's going to be the head coach. So it was already going to be a tough free agent pitch as far as who they're going to get, who do they go after, in what order, and ultimately, outside of Anthony Davis, who is the best fit of the other free agents because you don't have to trade for them. So I believe they'll get a competent basketball person. I believe this is one of the most important decisions the Lakers have made in a long, long time. But that decision will give comfort to those free agents that the Lakers are getting this thing turned around. So I do believe they'll be able to land one of the bigger free agents.
One of the things we haven't talked about yet this segment is LeBron. How this has affected LeBron, how this will affect LeBron. Do you think he has any regrets about what happened this year, about coming here this year?
I'm sure he does because he just met with Magic a couple days ago. And I'm pretty sure they came up with a plan, and he gave him a vision of where he see things going this summer, and then he steps down without talking to him. And he's the guy that he met with. So he has to have a little regret because this is the guy you believed in. Now you got to get another brain trust in there. One who's going to help pick the coach. Is this new guy going to go to LeBron and ask for his help as far as picking the coach? The guy who's running the team, is he going to be able to lure free agents in or at least help LeBron get free agents in? So it's important because I think he had a voice with Magic. I think him and Magic were trying to do this together and get this organization back to championship level, and then he just steps down right away. So I'm pretty sure LeBron's having little regrets right now.
Yeah, he's definitely having some regrets, but it becomes important that they communicate because LeBron's going to have to talk to the players also. So you can't have 2 or 3 different messages where the front office says something to a player and then LeBron says something totally different to that player. It's very, very critical that they present a united front in trying to go after this coveted free agent. Because the Anthony Davis thing, to me, I believe if they get the right basketball person in there, they can negotiate the right type of deal. But there are going to be other people trying to go after Anthony Davis also. So LeBron and the organization having the proper speaking points, it becomes real important moving forward.
And that's why getting the right guy in place quickly is important, because no matter Magic's limitations, he and LeBron were going, I'm sure they did, one part of the meeting I would guess on Saturday was, what's our hierarchy? You can't talk to the players yet. I can, as LeBron. And so I can now start the recruitment immediately. I can go talk to Kemba Walker. If they don't make the playoffs, we'll find out tonight. You know what I mean? Immediately. I can talk to Anthony Davis, and even though that's not a recruitment thing, he's not a free agent. But if you have in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks or in a month, new team president come in and say, our top priority is Klay Thompson. We're going to go after him above all else. It'll hurt the Warriors. It's perfect for you. And LeBron hadn't even been talking. So there is that weakness to where you don't know what the team's message is going to be.
And there also has to be a sense of LeBron not knowing if he can trust. Because LeBron gave the Lakers and Magic something he didn't give Cleveland. And that's something you pointed out, Nick. He committed to 4 years, and he voided some other things that he had as far
Doesn't have a no-trade clause.
Yes, he gave that up because of the Lakers and that commitment, and to me, that would be a breach of my trust.
And then you got to understand, like I said earlier, his meeting was with Magic. It's like he met with Magic. They didn't say it was Rob Pelinka and Luke Walton was meeting.
No Jenny Buss.
It was with Magic. So LeBron's got to be spinning his head right now, just today, trying to figure out what he's going to do. Obviously now, like you said, Jenny has to put her big girl pants on and call LeBron, and she's going to need his help. She's going to need his input.
And there's another element to it, and you opened the door to it, so I'm going to walk through it. I've been hesitant to bring it up all morning, but LeBron didn't ask for a no-trade clause because he knew Magic Johnson would never, ever, under any circumstances, trade him. Now is there a scenario where they bring in a new team president, and the team president has a long vision for restoring the Lakers to greatness, and if they don't hit a free agent, and they don't get lucky in the lottery, and Brandon Ingram's blood clots are worse than reported, and they don't trade for Anthony Davis, that team president, who is not part of the Lakers family, that team president says, you know what? There is a way to restore the Lakers to prominence, and it's one that will torch a relationship with LeBron James, but you know what? I don't have a relationship with LeBron James. I think that is incredibly unlikely. I think that is a situation where maybe Jeannie Buss would step in, but I would imagine that possibility went through my head, went through LeBron's head, where it's like, wait, what if they sign a guy I don't know who wants to put his mark on this team by doing something unprecedented?
It definitely can happen.
Because LeBron picked the Lakers when he could have picked the Rockets, when he could have picked the Sixers, when he could have picked a lot of teams that would have been immediate, overwhelming championship favorites. And he did it because his kids wanted to be there, his wife wanted to be there, he wanted to build his other empires there. And now the guy who has almost invented this era of player power, he's out of power right. He's not in control. For the first time in his career.
Isn't it just as plausible that the opposite of that is on the table? That they bring in Ty Lue and David Griffin, his former GM, his former head coach.
More likely to happen.
And
Absolutely.
now all of a sudden you have the once frayed relationship is now good again. You trust in Jeannie Buss, and you can sort of spin this forward.
Absolutely in play. This works out great. But it was not in play, even as bad as this season went. With Magic at the helm, it was never going to be in play that LeBron is told, we're trading you.
Right.
And when you don't know who's going to be in charge of that operation now, and LeBron does not have a no trade, that all of a sudden becomes something, I'm sure at least, that he and Rich text about it, I would imagine, even if it's something you don't want to even consider as a possibility. And so uncertainty is uncomfortable. And uncertainty is something that, for a guy who's been in such total control of franchises, has got to make him feel a little unease.
I would just say this. He wouldn't be the only or the first time we've seen a superstar player get traded and not finish their career the way we thought they were going to finish it. So it's definitely on the table. But, I mean, it'll be – I don't know what GM or what person would not want LeBron James at the helm. He's still the best player in the league, to me. So it's hard to say that no matter what, that he'll get traded.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, And catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.